Chack and Pop is one of the games that inspired this project. I bought Chack and Pop, put the game in, and then couldn't figure out what I was doing. The game is not especially intuitive. I searched around for some information on it, and all I could find in English were sites that told me that it was the precursor to Bubble Bobble. Okay, that's interesting and historically significant, but how do I play? What's it like? How deep are those connections to Bubble Bobble? Chack and Pop is treated just as a game that exists, a title to fill in a spot on a list, and the answer to a trivia question. So let's give Chack and Pop its due here. As you might guess, given it's a title game, Chack and Pop originated in the arcade. I've seen a Japanese source call it a popular arcade game, though it seems like it hasn't really stuck around in popular memory. The yellow, kind of birdish thing is Chackin. Chackin's goal on each stage, which this game calls mazes, is to free the hearts that are trapped in cages. Once the hearts are free, they break down the brick walls that block the exit. Stuck to the ceiling at various points are eggs. Over time, these will hatch into monsters called, well, Monster. I guess they weren't very creative with the names. They'll pursue Chakan if Chakan gets a bit too close. Chakan has a tool to protect herself. She can drop a red bomb out to one side. The A button drops it to the right, and the B button drops it to the left. There's a bit of momentum in it too, so it'll roll a distance before it stops. The bomb explodes into that smoke cloud. The smoke flows a bit around corners, but it doesn't go too far. It gets rid of the monsters and eggs that are trapped in it, but if Chakan is trapped in it, it kills her as well. The mazes aren't particularly intuitive to navigate. Chakan has the ability to stretch up to the ceiling. The height she can stretch to depends on how many feet she has on the ground. She cannot change levels while she's on the ceiling, though. So if the ceiling changes, then she just falls right off. She can also stretch to get up some small steps. What she cannot do, though, is jump. She also won't stop moving when she starts moving left or right. You have to use an obstacle to bring Chakan to a halt. It can be tricky to find a path with these movements, and you'll often find yourself having to go the long way around. And that brings me to the levels. Now you might think that as a bit of a puzzle-ish platformer, that Chack and Pop would have a huge number of levels. The arcade has 14, and that was reduced to 9 on the Famicom. There's no way to continue when you game over or skip to a certain level, so you have to play the game the whole way through. Here's a few tricks that will help you get through the levels. In Maze 3, you can't approach the cage. Instead, you need to stretch your legs up and release a bomb exactly at the height of your movement. It won't destroy the entire cage, you'll have to do it once for each side. The timing is super tight on that. On some levels, you'll find this moving platform. The monsters can get squeezed in between the platform and a wall to kill them. Also, you can get squeezed between the wall and the moving platform. It's a bit hard to move around on that platform too. The real secret to progress lies in the bonus at the end of each stage. If you kill all of the enemies when they're in monster form, or kill all of the enemies while they're in egg form, then you get some additional point bonus. However, if you manage to clear the stage without destroying any enemies, you get an enormous point bonus, plus an extra life. It's pretty easy to do this on the first stage, and it's definitely doable on the second. So that's a good way to rack up some extra lives to try to complete the game with. There's one element of the stage I haven't mentioned yet. Along the top row there's a monster pushing that brick. That's basically the timer for the stage. If he reaches the end, then you lose a life. In play, I was never pressured by the timer. I had to wait around to get this picture. So Chack and Pop to Bubble Bobble. The biggest thing is that they share some of the sprites. Both Chacken and the Monster appear in Bubble Bobble games. The visual design is a bit similar too, though obviously you can't pass through the platforms in Chack and Pop. Beyond that though, totally different game. We won't even be seeing Bubble Bobble 1 in Famidaily since it's a Famicom Disk System game. I can't say Chack and Pop is a really great game. It's playable, it's okay, but the Tosei port isn't doing it any favors. It feels a bit awkward, never really quite comes together, and to quote the old joke, such terrible portions. 9 stages just isn't enough for this kind of game. This is a very middle-of-the-road game that I just don't see anyone really getting into.